Hello, hello. This is the My Artifact episode number 3347. Today's date is 3rd of March 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:55 p.m. Okay. We directly jump into the question. Yeah, let's directly jump into the question. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, question is, what can the study of animal teach us about human behavior? Okay, that's a really good question. Okay, first of all, where is this question came from? A couple of days ago, sorry, couple of weeks ago, I was actually watching the Leonardo, the Demons of Leonardo. It's a web series. While I was, if you don't really know who is the Leonardo, the he's a really one of the world famous painting Mona Lisa was actually drawn by the Leonardo da Vinci. He is not just a painter; he's a master of multiple things. He's a really great person. While I was watching that particular show, I was bitterly influenced by his thought process. I wanted to think like him, so I went to the ChatGPT and asked that, "Ki suggest me such a question so that I would think like Leonardo da Vinci." This is one of those questions. Now, question says, "What can study of an animal teach us about human behavior?" Okay, how does how does kind of like a something animal is a kind of like a something teaching us about human behavior? Okay. This question is a kind of like a really good. Okay. But if you wanted to understand this question, you have to change little bit perspective. Okay. Yeah. Right now we are the humans and animals are animals. Okay. Yeah. And we have kind of like a somebody far more different than each other regarding about visual looks, regarding about everything. Okay. Yeah. But this is the kind of the difference is actually happened because our lifestyle is changed. Okay. Yeah, we develop, we are kind of like a living at home, we drive car, we ate food वगैरह. Okay, our lifestyle is literally kind of like a little bit modern, but animals are kind of like a living as they are kind of like a living in millions of years ago, still they are living right now. Okay. Yeah, they didn't really develop. Okay. Yeah. So the question is that ki, how does kind of like a some animal is how similar kind of like a something things that they have that we have too. What are those? Okay. um okay, yeah, first of all, like forget the present. Okay, I'm talking about kind of like a something millions ago year ago. Humans and animal are kind of like a something just equivalent. Okay. Yeah, at that time this is kind of like a something, the difference between the humans and animal are kind of like a something just a species who are actually living on this planet, nothing really at all. Okay. Yeah, and they both species are trying to survive on this planet. Okay. Animals have kind of like a some certain thing, claws. Okay. Yeah, they have very big claws like a tiger or lion. They could run really fast. Okay. Yeah, they have kind of like a something fur. They have kind of like a something so much advantages that they are meant to be kind of like a something very good hunter. I'm not talking about just a tiger and lion, but all those rest of the kind of like a something animal have some certain things to survive. Okay. Yeah, humans doesn't really have that. Human doesn't really have a fur. That's why we won't be able to live in cold place. We won't be able to run that fast because we are kind of like simply walking on two leg. We don't really have that much kind of like some strong claws that kind of like a rip off this thing. Nothing really at all. Okay. Yeah, so basically it's this thing ki, if human at that time, human is a kind of like a some very weak species during this period of time. Okay. Yeah, and it meant to be kind of like a something die instantly because it doesn't really have anything so that they meant to be survive. Okay. Yeah, but still they kind of like a something survive is because of the they build the community, they are started living together. Living together means like that, humans, like a multiple humans, like a one guy, another guy. If one person went to the forest, probably he will gonna die, but community of the people went to the forest, might be they will not gonna die. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing, the development of the human is actually happened when the multiple people gathers, and they are kind of like a something meant to be live together. Okay, yeah. And when they live together, they are kind of like a something survive together. Okay, yeah. Their survival rate is became really higher. All right, yeah. Now, what's exactly the kind of like some similarity between the humans and animals? Okay, yeah. Um, Now I'm kind of like a taking example as a kind of like a something like a tiger or any kind of like a something animal. Okay, let's take a deer. Okay, yeah. Deer is also kind of like a something animal. Okay, yeah. So how does he survive? How does those animal are kind of like a something survive? They are actually survive through community. Means like that ki, like a deer don't really kind of like a something always went alone. No, they always kind of like a something something really in group together. Yeah, like they are actually in group together. Not only just the deer, but as also the monkeys, the ants are kind of like something always stick together. Zebras, lions, tigers, every kind of like a species, almost like a 70-80% of the species are meant to be live together. Okay, so that's why their survival rate is kind of like a something very high. And this is kind of like a something similarity that we also have that, because at the beginning we are meant to be survive together. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a something similarity that we have as a human to animal. Okay, as also is this thing, I think that ki somewhat emotions that humans they have, I think animals do have such emotions too. Okay, example, have you seen a monkeys who is kind of like a something, a baby monkey who always attached to the mother monkey? Have you seen that particular picture? You probably seen that. Okay, yeah. It kind of like a represent that ki the mother is always take care of their child. Okay, yeah. And it actually shown in the monkeys, in the tiger, in the lion, in cows, in everywhere. Like a basically is this thing in birds, it kind of like a something shown a similar cases where mother is always take care of the child. Okay, how like a, like in every species this kind of like a something same, the connection between the child and mother is kind of like a something always like a really strong. Okay, yeah. Same thing happened with the humans too. Okay, yeah. Like basically is this thing ki in humans, mother and child are associate with so together that he as a child won't able to survive without mother. Okay, yeah. So it's kind of like a something biologically or naturally, mother is kind of like a something the, like it's kind of like a something emotions na. Okay, yeah, because mother is not really kind of like always take care of the child, and it's kind of like a something happen in every species, not only animal but as also humans too. So I think this kind of like a some like behavior is kind of like a representing some sort of similar behavior as a human and to the animals too. Okay, then another behavior is a reproduction. Okay, like basically every species are meant to be kind of like a somely repopulate their species. Okay, yeah. And this is actually happen in every species, like not only just humans but in every species. Okay, yeah. um Also is this thing that what's the kind of like some similarity between the humans and animal? uh Emotion that I already mentioned. Then survive, meant to be kind of like a survive together. Okay, yeah. Then then probably reproduction. Okay, yeah. These are kind of like a three things that I might think these are kind of like a some similar familiarity that we have as a human and animal. All right, yeah. By the way, there are a couple of pointers are here, which is actually represented by the ChatGPT. What are the pointers? Social behavior and group dynamic. Animal live structural group just like humans from societies, families, and organization. Yeah, like basically as I mentioned, they kind of like live together. Communication and emotional expression. Oh yeah, like this is kind of like a only point that I didn't really talk about. Okay, um, okay. Have you seen a dog? Like probably you actually kind of like heard some sort of dog is barking. Like this is my dog. Okay, yeah. My dog means like that. Ki, like my sister has a dog and its name as a Lucy. Okay, yeah. So I am kind of like somebody observing my dog. Okay, like a dog. Okay, yeah. So dogs are kind of like a something always try to protect their alley. What's the alley? Okay, yeah. I don't know, but maybe it's a kind of like a some certain thing in the dog that they are always protecting their some sort of area. Okay, and they won't let any other kind of like a some animal into that particular alley or into that particular surrounding. Like have you ever experienced this thing? Okay, yeah. Like गली का कुत्ता बोलते हैं ना, like ये है गली का कुत्ता. So this exactly is this thing means like that कि dogs are always have kind of like a some sort of kind of like a some area distributed, means like that this is the area is mine. Okay, yeah. And if the another dog is actually came in into that particular area, then each every dog are kind of like a barking on that dog that ki, why do you came here and something things like that. It's barking bow 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 bow. This is what kind of like a something happened in the humans too. Yeah, because humans have kind of like a tendency to associate with the people who is kind of like a um, something like that ki close to us. Like example is this thing in our families we have mother, father, brother, sister, cousin, grandfather, grandmother. Yeah, okay. What if like if there any kind of like a random person, would you bring any kind of like a random person at your home and kind of like live with you for the rest of the period of lifetime? No, nothing really at all. We won't. Okay, this is what kind of like something happen on the animals too, because maybe like a in specific I'm kind of like referring as a dog. Okay, yeah, because dog are meant to be kind of like a something protecting their area, and they won't let any other animal to get into that particular area. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a something is this thing. Another thing is the communication. Like we actually communicate, but let me tell you one thing now. Okay, yeah. The way that we communication and way that other animal could communicate is a far more different. Okay, yeah. Like yeah, we like all those species are kind of like assembly communicate, but it's something somewhat kind of like assembly very different. Okay, yeah. Our communication is not only depend on verbal. What do you mean by that? Okay, yeah. So when we communicate, uh, like there are multiple ways to communicate. Okay, what's up multiple ways? Like first of all verbally. Okay, yeah, like we talk to each other, that is called verbal communication. Okay, yeah. Then hand gesture, we like actually showing some sort of gesture like a hi, bye, hello, good night, good gear. Okay, yeah, that is called hand gesture. This is also kind of like a something a communication. Okay, yeah. Then emotion. Okay, yeah, emotion means like that na ki if someone is kind of like a somebody angry, his face is became something very angry. Okay, yeah. He didn't really talk with us, but we could analyze just seeing his face and understand that ki yeah, he is angry. It's kind of like a simply transferring some sort of emotion through face, through emotions. Okay, means like we could communicate each other through emotions too. Okay, yeah. Let me tell you one thing. The way that we communicate, the way that humans communicate, no other species communicate like that. Literally no. Like our communication is kind of like let me tell you one thing now. Our verbal communication, like in our entire communication cycle, okay, only 20%, only 20 to 30% is actually covered by the word verbal. Mostly we communicate each other through gesture, through emotions, mostly in every day. We don't really knew it, but yeah, we could. Like basically this thing, if your mother is angry, or the tone of kind of like a some sort of voice, like a when the voice is kind of like a something very high pitch, we represent that ki it's a kind of like a authority, means like that the person who is actually kind of like a talking has a kind of like a some very high tone, means like that ki he is a authority person, means a boss or something like a, yeah. If the volume is little down, kind of like a very soft, it represent kind of like a little bit of love voice. Okay, it represents some sort of love wala emotion. Okay, that the person who's kind of like a talking in that particular tone or soft tone, it represent as a colleague or any kind of like a some person, as a partner or something like that. Okay, yeah. So like basically is this thing na, the we are actually communicating, the way that we are actually communicating is like a far more different. Like basically in our entire period of lifetime, we only communicate through verbally only 30%. 70% are actually we communicate through emotions, gesture, face read, things like that. Okay, yeah. And I'm not talking about these are and these are kind of like a something natural communication. We have kind of like a modern way of communication that we have is like a telephones, internet, and things like that. It's also kind of like a far too crazy. But yeah, okay, yeah. So also I'm gonna tell you ki these are the way that we communicate, the humans that we communicate is a kind of like a something no species could communicate like that, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah. Mostly each species are communicate through communication, means like that they talk like a basically is this thing, the dogs are kind of like somebody barking bow 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 bow. Cat is kind of like a communicating with a meow 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 meow. It didn't really like it's somewhat they are kind of like a showcasing their communication through action, like if the dog is kind of like a angry, he was kind of like a barking and kind of like a face look little bit of something like kind of like a roar. Okay, a cat is kind of like a showing their emotions through the expression, like if the cat is kind of like angry at each other. But let me tell you one thing now, in a dogs or any kind of like a some animal, they are kind of like a showcasing only angry emotions. Okay, yeah. But the as a human, we are kind of like a not only showcase angry, but we actually kind of like a represent happiness, sadness, angry, every emotion we could represent through our facial structure. Okay, so which is like really incredible. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing: the communication is only is a such a thing that as a humans we could communicate, as a animals could communicate to each other. Okay, yeah. Now another point is that problem solving and intelligence. Okay, yeah. Does animal have any kind of like a some problem solving things? Well, yeah, they have. Okay, what are those? Am I ever a kind of like some experience this thing? Well, I haven't really experienced, but probably is this thing. I think they have. Like I don't know, yeah. Probably I'm not really sure. Okay, yeah, because I'm not really sure about the how much like a animal are kind of like a getting any kind of like a some problem, or they will get some sort of problem. I don't know. They would kind of like a solve that problem very intelligently. I'm not really sure about this thing because I don't really have that much information. But humans could do that. Humans is actually solving problems through intelligently, and this is what kind of like a somebody we develop because we solve the problem, and that's why we are kind of like a develop and create this world that we are actually seeing right now. But I am not actually saying the specific exact word for the animal because I haven't really seen that key animals could solve the problem. Okay, yeah. Because if they could solve the problem, they might like they are humans. I don't know, yeah. Like what's kind of like some difference between the other species and our humans? Because like the humans that we kind of like solve the problem and we create this world. If I'm gonna say monkeys, they would kind of like some solve their problem. Probably they would, but it's like I'm not really sure. Okay, yeah, because you just think that na ki they are kind of like a doing the same thing that they are kind of like a doing the millions of years ago. Means like that the way that they meant to be survive, they are kind of like a something survive at this moment same. Okay, nothing really at all. But humans are kind of like a somebody develop. We understand the facts and live and the purpose and everything. So I'm not really sure about that. The intelligence that they have, might be they kind of like somebody solve some sort of basic thing regarding about where we should supposed to be get the food and something like that. But still, I'm not really sure. I haven't really experienced that thing. So yeah, survival instinct and decision making. Whoa, that is really good thing. Yeah. Does animal are kind of like simply have survival instinct? Yeah, they have kind of like something survival instinct regarding about hunting and surviving. Yeah, they have kind of like some sort of instinct. Okay, yeah. Also, we have to okay, yeah. Like example is this thing that ki fight, the way that we fight and way that we flight respond is kind of like a different than we think it is. Means like that example, have you ever seen kind of like a lion is kind of like a somebody always not tiger is actually running behind the deer and things like that. This is what kind of like a represent as a hunter are kind of like a somebody hunting. Okay, it's a kind of like a somebody natural process to get the food and things like that. In this particular process, the deer, from perspective from the deer, he meant to be run. If he not run, then he will gonna die. So probably he is gonna do everything for saving his life. Okay, and in that particular process, that deer has to be run as fast as it can, and tiger has to be run for the food because he won't be able to survive without meat, and tiger won't able to eat any kind of like a some vegetable, no, nothing. Tigers are meant to be eat meat. Okay, yeah. So both have kind of like some valid reason for run, and they are meant to be run. Is is kind of like a is kind of like a something showcasing that ki those people have kind of like a things for like a living, like for purpose. Okay, yeah. So I think that na ki this is kind of like a same thing that we have. Like we also have some certain purpose, like for the food, for the things. Okay, yeah. Like basically, why we are living is for kind of like a some food. So that's why we are started doing farming and things like that. We understanding the importance of the farming and the where we get the food, things like that. So yeah. Okay. So these are kind of like a some certain thing that I might think that ki these are associate like the animal could teach us about the human behavior somewhat somewhere like a basically the behavior that we have, the behavior the animal that we have is a kind of like a somewhat equivalent, not exactly, but still almost like a 70-60% are kind of like a somebody equivalent regarding about all those things that I mentioned earlier. All right, this is it. I should supposed to be end here, and thank you.